Hi guys, today I have an update for my project Pen Porn again, and if just in case if this is the first video you've watched from me from this series, my goal of this project is to work on 2 palettes at the same time, and my goal is to hit pan on one of the shades in each palette. Once I hit pan on one shade or multiple shades, I would just roll that palette out, and I will continue to work on more palettes. That way I can go through just as many palettes as I could in a year. And also the 2 palettes I work on are always one being one of the oldest palettes in my collection and the other one being one of the newer ones. So that way I'm not neglecting neither the old nor the new palettes in my collection. Last update, I was working on 2 palettes, and they are quite the extreme as far as the price tag goes too. The newer palette I was working on is actually from Marc Jacobs, and this one is the Style Icon number 7 in the color The Dreamer. This one is a neutral toned palette, and I've been working on this palette for 2 months in this project already. I think at the beginning of this project, the palette was pretty much new. I bought this palette about a year ago, barely used it, maybe just a couple, maybe 3 weeks that I've used it, and I didn't even form a firm opinion on it, and I just put it away. So I decided to pull it out and start using it more and then try to see if I really like it or not. And last update, I still didn't hit pan on anything. I did realize I actually really enjoy the palette, even though the color are really neutral, but I think all the shades work together really well, and you can just toss any like 2 to 5 shades from this palette on your eyes and they're gonna work together seamlessly, and then you don't have to worry about, you know, the color don't match together and whatnot. So it definitely gives a really high-end feeling for me. So this time around I was actually able to hit pan on 2 shades. So you can see right here in the middle, this one I have pan. It shouldn't be a surprise because this one is what I use in my eyebrows from time to time, or sometimes in my outer V, but either way I use a smaller brush and it kind of just goes in the middle. So I have pan, and the pan is decent size, but I feel like the edge right here around the edges, like the pan wasn't really touched at all. So it's more like a hole in the middle kind of situation. So, you know, I usually don't really like pans like that. I really enjoy wearing the shade down evenly crossed, but you know, this is just what happened. I did hit pan on that one, and also this pan is a little hard to see because it's so light. Can you tell that pan right in there? This one is what I use to set my eye primers every day, and even though the pan size is about the same as this shade, but this entire pan is really worn down. I'm sure if I continue to use it, this thing is gonna just expand like real fast and it's gonna be gone. Just right around the edges, like right along the side, everything is like super thin now. So I'm actually really happy with this progress. I think this palette, I did really enjoy it. I used it enough to make me realize I actually really like it. I'm not upset that I didn't hit pan on more things. I think this one is a very easy palette if you don't want to think much about your makeup. So I think I'm gonna bring this to travel with me from now on, just because all the shades could go together so well and I don't need to put much thought into it. So I'm happy about that. I'm gonna roll it out. And the other palette I was working on in the past month is actually one of the older palettes in my collection. This one is from Elle. It's called an Enchanted Tale Eyeshadow Compact. I stumbled across it, I think in Walgreens maybe 5 years ago, and it was only like $4.99 probably. I don't remember exactly, but this one is like super cheap, and it's a limited edition that's with the Elle Beauty and Beast kind of collaboration. So this guy is, you know, for the longest time I thought it was a more colorful palette, and I kept it around for that reason, thinking one day if I want to use more color I will go for this one. But the more I use it, the more I realize it's really not a colorful palette, because you can see right here, I've got like 2 really deep shades here that exist in almost any palette. And if you cover those 2, of course here down you have a green, a blue, and if you cover those 2, the rest of them is actually really neutral. So really in this palette you just got like 2 colorful shades and maybe a pink if you consider that a colorful one. I think that's a good realization for me. I realized this palette is just not that unique at all, which makes me feel I don't really have to keep it around, you know? So I'm pretty sure this palette is gonna go in my next round of declutter. But as of for now, you can see apparently I don't have any pans yet. And even when I put this palette in the project, it was pretty much a new palette. Even though I kept it for this many years, I barely used it. So when I put it in this project, I kind of decided I wouldn't touch any of the 4 neutral shades right in the middle. And also I realized just those 2 shades up here are really muddy. The color don't really show up on my eyes. When they do, they don't show up as a lighter icy gray, and it doesn't show up as a olive green. They just show up really muddy and not very attractive at all. So I very quickly pretty much just gave up on those 2 as well. So my goal right now solely is to focus on this pinker shade. And this pink shade actually is really nice. It is a matte shade and it blends really well, and this is what I have on my crease today. I've been using it in my crease all this time and I fairly enjoy the look, and I really think this palette, like using it for a month, made me realize this palette has nothing unique to provide except for 1 shade, and I'm gonna feel so good once I hit pan on it, so that way I'm just gonna toss it. So yeah, that will be my goal now. I'm just gonna keep working on that pink shade. You can probably see there's a dip right there in the middle. Not a whole lot, but I believe I can hit pan. If not next month, it will be like right after next month update. So regardless, I think I can work on it for another month or so. I really fairly enjoy this 1 shade. But again, I'm not gonna keep the palette just for that 1 shade. So that's settled now. I was working on those 2 palettes last month. I hit pan on 1 of the palettes. That means it's gonna get rolled out. And I wanted to replace it with something that's also a little bit newer in my collection. I actually have quite a few new palettes, like quite a few. So I was debating a lot about what to put in, and finally, shocker, I'm gonna replace it with another number 7 Icon palette from Marc Jacobs. I think the main reason is the color selection. I have a lot of newer palettes that are either neutral or maybe on the deeper end. I feel I could either use them year-round or I can use them in the winter month, but this palette particularly is in the color Enigma, and this one is definitely or at least when I look at it, I feel this is like a springy look palette or summery, because you can see the colors here are, you know, pink, green, blue. In my head, I think that's a perfect spring color palette, so I really wanted to work on this. I got those 2 palettes together, so I don't have a whole lot of use on it, but after using this guy, I feel if the quality is being consistent, I wouldn't be disappointed at the quality of the shadows. It's just a matter of how to figure out to use those colors and things like that. So I decided I can work on this one, and honestly, I probably wouldn't touch this black color ever. I just realized like black eyeshadow is not my thing, so we can just ignore that part. And for the rest of them, I think you got a couple of neutrals, and this one is a light pink, but it's very neutral-ish, and I can just try to incorporate some of the colors. It'll be fun, and I'm excited to use it, and I really want to make sure I use my more expensive products. I think I was just, this is going a little bit off topic, but I was just going through my collection the other day, trying to think about filming my updated inventory now. And I realized in my collection I have a lot more high-end stuff now, and also the high-end stuff are mostly untouched. I think in my head I really want to have that collection. I like looking at them because of the packaging and whatnot, but it's so wasteful if I have a Marc Jacobs palette and it's not being used, you know? And I have that story like again and again in my collection. I got so many lipsticks that are brand new, eyeshadow palettes. I just decided to change that. I want to really eat away my high-end collection now, and then because I spent more money on them, I want to either use them or give them to someone else who could use them. I just don't want them to sit there. So You're gonna see that change from now on. Hopefully in the next half of the year, I'm gonna try to bring in a lot of the more expensive stuff in. So this is my pretty much step one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a like on this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you want to, you can even click on that little bell to get notifications from me. So that will be it. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.